Hi, welcome to AnimeCons TV. I'm Patrick Delahanty, and I'm here to talk about SacAnime Summer 2019. Now, Patrick, you might be thinking, doesn't SacAnime usually take place over Labor Day weekend? It's August. How are you reporting on this convention that hasn't even taken place yet? Well, this year they moved the Summer SacAnime to June. It was held June 7th through 9th. Originally, I thought that was because they didn't want to have to compete with Crunchyroll Expo, and Crunchyroll Expo moved onto their weekend, so I figure rather than fight them, they'd like, all right, we'll just move to summer and then it'll be 6 months. Actually, that's not the reason. They moved because starting in July, the Sacramento Convention Center started to do renovations. And so as of this time, the convention center is closed and not holding any events. So they had to move it to June. That means that the winter edition and next summer are not going to be at the Sacramento Convention Center. They're actually moving the convention to Cal Expo. And then in January 2021, they'll be moving back to the Sacramento Convention Center, all renovated and hopefully much better. And but I'm getting ahead of myself because that's like over a year from now, and I'm here to talk about this past convention from June. Now, we've covered SacAnime a number of times in the past, both the winter and the summer edition, and really this is not much different. If you go back at our other reviews, it's largely unchanged. They don't have the Falling Skies actors back this year. They seem to be focusing more on the type that would be either anime or associated with anime, and so they've got a lot more guests that fall into that instead of trying to branch out into a sci-fi cable series. And so that seems to fit well. And there are a few minor differences, but I'll go through different things. The first thing I noticed when I got there, the place was packed. Now, I don't have the attendance figures for what it was, but it was clearly more people than I've seen there ever before. This place, they used the entire convention center, and it was still hard to get through some areas because there's so many people. I wouldn't say it was overcrowded, but I wouldn't want to see a lot more people in there because some of those areas were bursting at the seams. They do have essentially 3 large main event or panel rooms. They have a large main event room that's upstairs that they use for guest panels and other similar things that'll bring in large audience. They use Hall C downstairs for special events. That's where they do their dance, the masquerade, and they had a couple large panels in there. And they also have a featured events room. It's not quite as big as main events, but it's also for very popular panels. So you can see featured events here is about half the size of main events. Hall C, it's on a different floor, so I don't know if the size scales between the 2 pages, but they also have an entire room that's the size of Hall C. It's Hall D. It's dedicated to guest autographs. There are free autographs, premium autographs, VIP. And so in the past, sometimes those halls have been taken by Greek Expo. I think that maybe that's only during the winter. It's hard keeping track with the summer and winter editions, but they had the whole convention center this time. They had 2 smaller panel rooms. Let me show them here. There's this one up here, this little tiny one, and then there's this little, where is it? This little tiny one down here. And so they had some fan panels running in those. And actually, when I was looking through the schedule, I was actually disappointed by the number of fan panels. Now, in the past, I complained that they had too many Ask a Character panels. It seems like they heard those complaints, because I couldn't have been the only one, and they've drastically reduced, so it's not such an insane percentage of their panel schedule that's all Ask a Character. I mean, they still have a couple, and that's fine. But when you look at the schedule, like on Friday, each of the panel rooms has 5 panels each throughout the day. On Saturday, we've got 5 and 6 panels, and on Sunday it's 2 and 3 panels. And they leave a half-hour gap between each panel, and that's good, but they could fit a few more panels in there. And if they're not getting panel applicants, they should go out and approach some people. Maybe people have run panels in the past and say, hey, do you want to come back and do this? Your panel is well attended. Or reach out to some new people in the community and say, hey, would you be interested in coming to SacAnime? Run a panel, we'll give you a badge, get people in to run panels and fill up that panel schedule. Give people more alternative programming. And especially with the hallways becoming crowded, filling the panel rooms is a good way to get people out of the halls. And so that helps to alleviate overcrowding. It's a little convention organizer trick that I picked up back in 2008. Anyway, they had guest of honor and cosplay photo ops. They had a room dedicated to that where you could go and buy some photos, professional looking photos with guests of honor. And SacAnime also has been known, as long as they've been in the convention center, for having their outdoor terrace balcony as a place for cosplayers to go and take photos. Unfortunately, this year, 2/3 of it was under construction. It was closed off for renovations. I guess they had to start that part early or something. And so the cosplayers were just left with a much smaller area. And so everybody had to crowd into that. And hopefully the whole thing will be open when they're back in a year and a half. They did offer a cosplayer lounge this year, and I hadn't seen that before. And it's a place where cosplayers could just go, if they have a big helmet or something, take it off, relax, put their feet up. There was a lot of people sitting on the floor, sitting in chairs. They also had some refreshments for sale, and some fellow cosplayers were offering free repairs. They had a tabletop gaming area, and boy, was that room packed when I went in there. I hardly saw any open seats, and there certainly weren't any open tables. It was very popular and very busy, and they've moved that into a larger room, and I can see why. They also had collectible card gaming, CCG, and that room looked very popular as well. There was a few open spots, but it was pretty popular, pretty packed. They also have a console gaming room, which I actually didn't notice when I was there because it's so small and it's so hidden away. I confess, I thought they had got rid of the console gaming because I didn't see it until just before I was recording this recap. I looked at the map and I noticed down here it says console gaming, and I was like, console game room, and I saw rooms 101 to 104. It's like, oh, where's that? And I looked around, couldn't find it. It's these tiny rooms right here, and I wish I known about this before so I could have stuck a camera in there, but those rooms are tiny. So yeah, SacAnime is definitely not a place to go if you're looking for console gaming, because I can't imagine there were too many offerings in that tiny room. Or 2 rooms, 4 rooms. It's a tiny space. The rest of SacAnime, you've got the exhibit hall, and that's really where a lot of people spend most of their time. It's the largest room, and there's a lot in there. They combine their vendors and their artist alley in there. They also had their indie zone for the independent artists, which I think everybody in artist alley would be. But that place was also packed. And because there's so many people in there, I don't know if the AC couldn't keep up, but it was really humid and it was very warm. And I can't imagine having to be in there all day, because it was getting uncomfortable. And if you were in cosplay, it must have been very uncomfortable, because I was just wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and it's like, oh geez. So I don't know, maybe in the last month the convention center was cutting corners and turned the AC down or something, but hopefully that's fixed when they renovate the place. The aisles, they were crowded, and it was hard to get through there because there's so many people looking at everything to see. They had, I think in the past I complained about the width of the aisles, and they seem to be better this year. I didn't really notice too much, except some aisles had a ton of people in it, which made it hard to get through. And then in the back they had concession stands, and there was not a whole lot of room between the artist booth and the concession stand. You really, if there was a line at the concession stand, it was really hard to get through because people are in line, and you know, it's only, I don't know, it was like 12 feet or something, which might sound like a lot, but when you're in a huge convention center, 12 feet, that's, you know, not much space. And if they're gonna have those concession booths open, you got to leave more space around it just for the lines for the concession stand, because it's hard to get through when people are waiting in line and people are trying to get through in the artist alley, and just a better organization of space. Speaking of better organization, I did notice in their program guide, I mentioned I think a couple of years ago how they had printed the artist alley guide, and it had like letters on the map and numbers in the alphabetical guide, which made it impossible to look up where people are. Well, this year, where's this map? So they've got this guide to all the exhibitors and artists, and if you can see their exhibitors, indie zone artists, and they've all got marked a letter and a number, a couple letters and some numbers depending on what type they are, and so that you can use it to find where they are on this map. Well, if you look at the map, okay, the vendors are all printed sideways, which is fine. Every artist over here, they've got it printed upside down. So they should have just rotated the map 180 degrees. The vendors would still be sideways, but you wouldn't have to go like this to see all the artists. This is just a page layout issue, and I don't know how they let this happen. Do they not have a proof? Did they not look through the guide? And I'm sure this will be fixed next time, but maybe it'll be some other mistake, and they should really pay more attention to their publications. Nice cover on the guide, by the way. And so that's SacAnime Summer 2019, held in June. The next SacAnime will be their usual one in early January, but this one will be at Cal Expo. And I'm not familiar with that facility, but I hope it works out. And then next Labor Day will be the next SacAnime. It'll also be at SacAnime Summer. It'll also be at Cal Expo. And that is back to Labor Day weekend, September 4th through 6th. So I'm not sure what Crunchyroll Expo's dates are going to be, but that's going to be about 2 hours away and probably the same weekend. And, you know, honestly, if you have to choose between the two, go to whichever one's closer. Yeah, maybe if you've been to one a lot, go check out the other. And then you'll know for next time. Although, I don't know if Cal Expo is a good judge for SacAnime, because the next time you go, it'll be back at Sacramento Convention Center. Anyway, yeah, just, you know, check out the guests, see who's going to which, and you'll have to decide. And it's unfortunate they're all trying to be on Labor Day weekend, but because I liked it in June, and apparently a lot of other people did because there were a ton of people there. So hopefully they'll just move back to June. Don't go on Labor Day weekend. There's other stuff going on. June is better. Anyway, that's what I thought about SacAnime Summer 2019. If you have thoughts about SacAnime, whether it's SacAnime Summer, their move to Cal Expo, or anything else, or other conventions that you've attended this summer, please drop us a line. You can write to us at podcast@animecons.tv, or you can leave us a voicemail at 762-ADEQUATE. That's 762-233-7828. And we look forward to hearing from you. Next week, Doug will be here to talk about Anime Next 2019. See you then.